All right, Brad, thank you very much. NBC Nightly News coming up next. Good news for the Bush campaign. The Oliver North trial has been delayed until after the election. For all of us here at Channel 5, thank you for joining us, and good night.
Oliver North, his trial begins after the election. Bush gets a Baker, and Dukakis issues a challenge.
NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw.
Good evening. This was a good day for Vice President George Bush. He learned that the Iran-Contra trial of Oliver North will take place after the presidential election, and the Vice President officially got Treasury Secretary James Baker to run his campaign. We begin with the North case tonight. As NBC law correspondent Carl Stern reports now, the beginning of the trial has been postponed indefinitely.
Oliver North's stubborn and hard-nosed defense paid off. His lawyers, Brendan Sullivan and Barry Simon, had accused the judge and prosecution of frantically rushing to start the trial before the presidential election. They insisted they couldn't possibly read the hundreds of thousands of pages of classified documents that fast. Today, Judge Gerhard Gesell abandoned the September trial date in exasperation and moved the next hearing on the documents to mid-November. Some experts say it could take years to finish the case.
I don't think there's ever been a case involving anywhere near this volume of classified documentation.
As long as they can represent what is necessity to them to review these documents, then the judge pretty much has to go along with those representation.
And that can go on?
That can go on for a long time.
Independent counsel Lawrence Walsh had offered to put aside the more complex charges so that the trial could begin next month. After today's rejection of that idea, Walsh issued a statement saying, "We shall continue our preparation for the trial of the full indictment." One major beneficiary of the delay, George Bush, said he exerted no influence or pressure for the postponement. Experts had said a September trial could have brought unwelcome attention during the presidential campaign to the vice president's role in the Iran-Contra affair.
Now with it being postponed till after the election, it can be an issue, but I don't think it can have much cutting power.
A lawyer for one of the Iran-Contra figures was predicting today there will never be a trial because he expects President Reagan to issue pardons just before he leaves office in January. Carl Stern, NBC News, Washington.
As for that speculation about a pardon, the White House said tonight that the president will preserve his options, and a delay in the trial date does not change that. At the same time today, President Reagan confirmed what everyone had been expecting, that James Baker has resigned as Treasury Secretary to run the presidential campaign of his friend George Bush. More on that now from NBC's Andrea Mitchell.
Baker resigned reluctantly from the job he loved most, having delayed until he could no longer resist the pressure to shape up the Bush campaign.
Well, as Jim Baker would say, it's finally a done deal.
Baker and his candidate then rushed over to rally the troops at Bush headquarters.
He brings his experience and his judgment to the campaign on schedule, just at the right moment.
I'm really pleased to be returning to the arena of competitive politics.
With Bush's polls sagging, most Republicans were delighted.
He can walk in and tell the vice president what he needs to be doing, what he needs to alter, and I think he's just going to create an excitement there that the campaign desperately needs.
Whether in Ronald Reagan's election campaigns or the first-term White House, Baker was the staff leader who made things work. But it was after swapping jobs with Donald Reagan and taking over a Treasury that Baker hit his stride, asserting American leadership even as the U.S. became a debtor nation.
Baker realized that the United States couldn't lead by dominating the process. It had to lead by working with other governments, and he was able to do that quite successfully.
At home, he propelled tax reform through Congress. His few critics said he did rely too much on the private sector to solve third-world debt.
I would hope that a new secretary would be more flexible in the issue of third-world debt.
In fact, Nicholas Brady comes out of a similar mold, except that as the head of a Reagan task force studying the stock market crash, he recommended more market regulation than Baker wanted. A close friend of Bush, Brady would likely keep the Treasury job if Bush is elected. Baker won't actually take over until Bush has been nominated, but he will have a major role in shaping Bush's acceptance speech and choosing a running mate. What Baker wants to avoid is the blame for a convention that leading Republicans fear will be dull. Andrea Mitchell, NBC News at the White House.
James Baker will be Chris Wallace's guest on Meet the Press on Sunday. The vice president's stinging attack yesterday on the defense and national security positions of Democratic presidential nominee Michael Dukakis are not going unanswered tonight. As NBC's Bob Kerr reports now, Dukakis wants to go one-on-one on this subject.
Then it was clear today that Bush's attack got Dukakis' attention.
In the last few days, things have been getting a little shrill on the Republican side of this campaign.
One day after Bush warned that Dukakis' military and foreign policy views, if implemented, would make the world more dangerous, Dukakis fought back.
I mean, anybody who sits there and does nothing while we trade arms to the Ayatollah and says he didn't know that Noriega was doing drugs and running drugs and is a suspected murderer, and who went to the Philippines in the early 80s and committed Marcos for his commitment to democracy, in my judgment, doesn't have what it takes to lead this country when it comes to foreign policy. And I've said that, and he's free to criticize me if he wants to.
Earlier today, Dukakis strolled on a beach criticizing Reagan-Bush environmental policies. At the same time, top Dukakis aides sent a letter to the Bush campaign. It cited Bush's reluctance to agree to a series of debates and proposed that the first one deal with foreign policy and national security.
For the past 6 weeks, we've been unable to get anybody in the Bush campaign to step up and say, yes, it's time to sit down and begin to plan.
Late today, Bush said he looked forward to debating Dukakis and offered a preview.
And the man has had no experience whatsoever in foreign affairs. And I would just repeat my suggestion yesterday that he address himself to how in the world we're going to negotiate successfully with the Soviet Union when we give away half of our strategic modernization program and we cut 2 carrier battle groups. So I think what he wants to do is once again obfuscate on the facts.
Bush sounds feisty and ready, but so far has not agreed to a format or date for a debate. Bob Kerr, NBC News, with the Dukakis campaign in California.
And Bush today released a letter from his doctor about his general state of health. The doctor described the 64-year-old vice president as having some mild arthritis in his hips and knees and a moderate hearing loss. But otherwise, he said, Bush is a vigorous athlete with a pulse rate of 67 and an ability to carry on a schedule better than fit men and women half his age. Representative Mario Biaggi of New York resigned from Congress today, one day after a federal court convicted him of racketeering in the WedTech scandal. Biaggi gave an emotional farewell.
I hope with the passage of time, people will look back and say, he really cared, and nothing can or will take away all the good he has done.
Also coming up here tonight on NBC Nightly News, Roger O'Neill in Yellowstone Park, where forest fires are providing scientists with a remarkable laboratory in which to study new growth. And on Assignment America tonight, Bob Dawson tells us about the founder of Wildcat Baseball, a game where the final score isn't as important as the chance to play.
Americans are eating healthier than ever, or so they think. Even healthy foods may not be as healthy cooked in oil, margarine, or butter. But all-natural pan no-stick cooking spray adds only 1/10 the fat and calories of those things and keeps food light and delicious. The choice is yours. These or all-natural pan, because how you cook is as important as what you cook.
Oh, look at me back in the 60s, working up a sweat. Oh, and that's how I used to pump iron. Not today. Today we're exercising more and eating less red meat. But red meat is a great source of iron.
Only Kellogg's Bran Flakes has high fiber and 100% of the iron recommended today.
So now I pump a little iron outside and inside. You know, I haven't felt this good since I burned that bathing suit.
Kellogg's Bran Flakes.
NASA has announced yet another delay in the crucial test firing of the Shuttle Discovery's engines. The space agency said it decided to replace the rocket fuel valve that caused yesterday's test to be scrubbed. Engineers now hope to fire these engines late next week. The danger from fires in Yellowstone National Park is over, and officials plan to reopen the big Grant Village Tourist Center there tomorrow, but fires have hurt tourism at the park. And as NBC's Roger O'Neill reports tonight, park officials are putting out the word that forest fires offer a rare chance to see how nature works.
Yellowstone National Park. it's just as spectacular as ever.
Radio commercials around the country are trying to convince tourists not to abandon Yellowstone.
Well, here's an updated fire map that has...
The commercials began after fires in the park caused a 20% drop in visitors.
For many people, perhaps most, Yellowstone has been hurt by these fires. But for the scientific community, Yellowstone is now a living laboratory and will be a healthier place in the future.
Fire is as much a part of the forest of the American West as sunshine and rain, and always has been, and it has very beneficial effects.
But after 46 years of Smokey the Bear commercials, the public is convinced a forest fire is bad. Scientists say fire cleanses a forest. The big old trees which look so good to tourists are not so good for the forest.
They're shading out the forest floor, so we see very few plants or grass species in here, and there's simply nothing in this forest for a Rocky Mountain elk or a grizzly bear or a moose.
And examples abound of Mother Nature's ability to recover from fire and other natural disasters if people will wait long enough. In Colorado's Rocky Mountain National Park, there's an abundance of new life 10 years after a fire there. Just 2 weeks after the Mount St. Helens volcano, new plants started growing through the ash, and now, 8 years later, scientists marvel at the recovery. The experts promise it'll be that way in Yellowstone, too.
I realize to most Americans, all they would see is death and devastation and destruction. But to an ecologist, it's a rebirth or a renewal rather than destruction.
By next spring, grasses and wildflowers will begin covering the destruction. Birds, elk, even the grizzly, forced out by the dense forest, will be back too. Park officials say it's a new beginning, not an end. Roger O'Neill, NBC News, Yellowstone National Park.
There was some relief from the heat in parts of the Midwest today, but hot, humid weather continued in much of the country. So far this week, 88 record-high temperatures have been set across America. Harvard University in Cambridge, Massachusetts, shut down today for the first time because of the heat for the first time in 352 years. Harvard's school song is Fight Fiercely, but today the heat won out. And if you intend to send a child to Harvard next year, it will cost $19,810. But a College Board survey found that Harvard is only the 7th most expensive institution of higher learning in this country. Bennington College in Vermont heads the list at $20,590. College bills overall are up an average of 7%. That's well above the rate of inflation.
If you heard the report on 59 cold cereals by a leading consumer magazine, you'd fall through the floor.
Mine's high in calcium.
And salt.
Salt?
High in fiber. And sugar.
Sugar? Lots of protein.
And added fat.
Fat?
Nabisco shredded wheat was rated tops in nutrition. For no added sugar or salt, low fat, plenty of fiber and protein. Nabisco shredded wheat. Nobody else.
Nabisco. Headaches, backaches, muscle aches and pains. Millions of you experience this kind of everyday pain. And you should know that the pain reliever that's unbeaten for ailments like these is Tylenol. But it wouldn't make any sense to relieve your pain and then irritate your stomach. That's why you should choose a pain reliever that won't cause the stomach irritation possible with aspirin or even ibuprofen. That's why your choice should be Tylenol. It's tough on pain, easy on your stomach.
Red Lobster asks,
are you ready to feast?
Ready for crab legs, fried shrimp, and a lobster tail on one plate? That's the ultimate feast.
Are you ready to feast?
Ready for shrimp? 29 succulent shrimp done 4 delicious ways? Then try our great shrimp feast.
And if you're ready to feast, you're in a Red Lobster mood. We know how you love seafood.
Now, Tuesday and Wednesday only, try our shrimp and steak special, just $9.95.
United Nations ceasefire efforts in the Iran-Iraq war remain stalled tonight, and the Persian Gulf remains tense. One of the most tense areas is near Iran's Farsi Island. There, U.S. commandos have set up shop, and as NBC's Fred Francis now takes us on an exclusive tour of what is called Fort Apache.
Until now, this has been one of the Pentagon's most closely held secrets in the Persian Gulf. A floating fortress manned by hundreds of commandos in the northern waters of the Gulf. It is a barge, once used by oil companies, outfitted for war in an area big U.S. ships cannot sail.
The men call the barge Fort Apache, or Alamo West. It's anchored here a few dozen miles from Iran's Farsi Island, where fast speedboats would use the shallow waters around here to ambush tankers and lay mines.
The men confront every dhow or small boat in the shipping lanes. Even this fishing boat flying the Saudi flag got a close look. It took the Navy many embarrassing months in these waters to learn that old-fashioned boats often are more effective than sleek modern warships. But the Navy had to ask reservists like 40-year-old Dan to come to the Gulf because few sailors knew how to pilot small craft.
The hardest commitment we've had here has been working with people and training them in a hot climate, temperate flare, and it's a difficult job, and these kids are doing a hell of a job doing it.
It is tedious duty under a killing heat of up to 130 degrees. The men do not see land for up to 3 months. They say their only joy is confronting Iran every day. The barge has one secret weapon which NBC News was permitted to show for the first time. These classified Army helicopters. They fly only at night with special equipment which enables the Army pilots to see but not be heard.
I've watched fishermen pull nets out of the water, watched them put nets in the water, operations like that, and I've never had them actually look up and look in my direction and gave me an indication that they knew I was there.
These classified helicopters are the Pentagon's answer to Iran's unconventional warfare. Fred Francis, NBC News, in the northern Persian Gulf.
And NBC's Jim Miklashevsky reports tonight that indictments are expected soon in a new investigation of Pentagon fraud. This one involves hundreds of millions of dollars in missile contracts at the Army's Redstone Arsenal in Alabama. The year-old investigation involves employees of the Army, the Small Business Administration, and defense contractors.
Now for indigestion, gas, introducing new extra strength Malox Plus. It neutralizes more than any leading antacid and dissolves gas. Nobody does as much as new extra strength Malox Plus.
This man once had a heart attack. Since then, his doctor prescribed exercise, the right foods, and Bayer aspirin. Studies show aspirin can help prevent a second heart attack. Ask your doctor.
I love you, Dad.
Bayer, the wonder drug that works wonders.
Fixing this water damage will cost $1,200. Could I have prevented it?
You improved Thompson's Water Seal could with 50% more active ingredients for better waterproofing on wood, brick, and concrete. Thompson's Water Seal, a great defense against repair expense.
Post Fruit and Fiber presents new Cinnamon Apple Crisp and a Fruit and Fiber cereal fanatic who never forgets our name.
Right, remember? Hey, this is new. Chunks of really crisp apple, cinnamon, it's fruit and...
Post Fruit and Fiber cereal introduces Cinnamon Apple Crisp with crisp, delicious apples, cinnamon, and high-fiber flakes.
Well, no wonder I forgot. This new taste is terrific.
New Cinnamon Apple Crisp Fruit and Fiber. Tastes so good, you forget the fiber.
Nothing should come between you and your pet, except the Hearts 2-in-1 collar. The collar that kills fleas and ticks for 5 months. Keeps them off your pet and out of your home. Go ahead, hug, snuggle, tickle him. The Hearts 2-in-1 collar lets you get close to your pet without getting close to fleas and ticks. If you want to hug a happier pet and have peace of mind, get the Hearts 2-in-1 collar.
Ace waterproofing sealer is just $5.97 a gallon, and a Memorax 5 cassette pack is just $3.99 after rebate. Hey, lots of good stuff here. All over. You can't miss it. Hey, let me tell you, Ace is the place for me.
The nation's unemployment rate went up 1/10 of a point last month to 5.4%. 170,000 more Americans, most of them teenagers, were out of work, but it was also a strong sign. 283,000 new jobs were created in this country last month. Japan said today that its economy is close to ideal, including almost full employment. But in its annual economic white paper, the Japanese government said that Japan still must do more to open its markets to foreign goods, and it said there is a widening gap between rich and poor Japanese because of soaring values of stocks and land in that country. But it is not the value of land that most preoccupies the Japanese. It is the movement of that land. Earthquakes, dozens of tremors in the past few days. NBC Jim Bitterman reports tonight how the Japanese deal with the problem that punctuates their lives.
When an earthquake hits, Japan is one of the safer places to be. This country spends almost $2 billion a year on earthquake disaster prevention measures. It's well protected because it's one of the hardest hit in the world. Last year, there were on average 2 earthquakes felt somewhere in the country each day. Other years, the numbers have been even higher. That's the main reason so much effort is expended here preparing for earthquakes and preventing damage from them.
We had so many earthquakes in the past, and so many people were killed. Therefore, the safety against earthquake, this is the first objective.
Japan got serious about safety after the earthquake 65 years ago, which killed 140,000 people. Practically each decade since, there has been one more massive quake. And each time, the Japanese have gotten more used to dealing with them and more adept at finding ways to minimize the damage. Engineers have tried things like constructing buildings on giant rubber pads and draining foundation soils to lessen the Earth's shock waves. And in general, buildings have been surviving recent earthquakes so well that now there is talk about relaxing some construction standards.
Japanese buildings are required to have, say, 2 to 3 times larger resistance than buildings in Los Angeles or San Francisco area.
To educate people about what to do when things start shaking, there's a road show complete with earthquake simulator that makes the rounds of neighborhoods and towns. And once a year, on the anniversary of the 1923 quake, the Japanese celebrate Disaster Day, practicing their best for the worst. No one seems to doubt it may be just around the corner. Most major home stores have earthquake departments where one can stock up on disaster supplies. And in offices and homes, anything that can move is fastened down. When and if the earth moves, the Japanese seem far better prepared to keep their balance. Jim Bitterman, NBC News, Tokyo.
Captain, this itchy rash is driving me crazy.
Why didn't you use the Cordate?
Cordate goes beneath the skin to actually heal itches and rashes.
You know, itches and rashes won't last if you use Cordate first.
Here I got a whole box of Kellogg's Raisin Squares. No salt, no fat. So is that why I'm eating them? No, I gotta eat them because they taste great. Let's face it, I'm a slave to that raisin in the middle. I mean, everybody knows that staying away from salt and fat makes sense for the heart. Now, there's a reason for eating Raisin Squares. But me? No. It's yum, 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 yum. Oh, I wish I'd grow up.
Kellogg's Squares. Raisin, strawberry, apple, cinnamon. Relax. Enjoy them to your heart's content.
No one knows I just got dentures, and I don't want anything to blow it.
Fixidant and forget it.
Denture wearers can't eat everything, but with Fixidant, I can get a taste of the local flavor.
Fixidant and forget it. Fixidant helps fix loose spots for a strong hold that lasts longer than any leading cream.
I just got dentures, but it hasn't slowed me down.
Second bit of 45, want to hit 45. 45, fierce.
Use Fixidant and forget it. Into the land of heartburn comes the first liquid antacid without that liquid antacid taste. A really good-tasting liquid that puts out heartburn's fire. New Tums Liquid. It works. It really tastes good.
Assignment America tonight, our Friday night look at the people and places that make this country special. Tonight, the winning way of Wildcat Baseball, a league for young players who learn that the final score isn't everything in life. NBC's Bob Dotson on how you play the game.
When Jeff Hornsby tried out for Little League 2 years ago, he didn't make it. Every morning before the games began, he would sit on a dugout bench near his home and dream away the pain.
Play ball, batter up.
One day, he met a coach who told him he could learn to be a good athlete.
Let's go, Jeff.
He put Jeff Hornsby on his team.
Strike three, batter's out.
Lance Hirschberger coaches in a unique league that looks for kids whose abilities do not yet measure up to their love of the game. For 3 decades now, Wildcat baseball has kept thousands of Fort Wayne youngsters from dropping out.
Now your mom's going to have to wash your pants. Good job. And a lot of those kids, I remember how it was for me. You know, everybody that made fun of you because you couldn't play, it really hurt bad.
Timeout. No pitch.
Coaches control the flow of the game so that each child can be successful if he simply does his best. When a mistake is made, the action is stopped to show how to correct it.
When you're throwing the ball, you're letting go of it way back here, back behind your ear, and that's why it's going so high. Step out for a second, Kenneth, and let him try one. Let go of it right out in front. That's better. Okay, batter up.
Since everyone plays every day and eventually every position, they all pay attention.
Out! Get back, Bill! Out! Double play!
There's another way this differs. Most often, the stands are empty. Parents are discouraged from attending the games to keep the emphasis off winning. But Hirschberger says, you give me your children for an hour and a half, I'll teach them something and send them home happy.
Those who have fun get better.
Nice catch, Justin!
Lance Hirschberger also coaches at a local high school, and last year watched 4 teams tie for the city championship. Nearly every player was a former Wildcatter.
Nice job. Good execution, good technique.
Hirschberger himself played Wildcat ball. For a time, it was the only league that would take him.
God, all those teams that I didn't play for when I was little, they'd have had a guy that would have went through a brick wall for them. I'd have sold my soul to be a major league ball player.
He never was, but his coaching keeps their love of baseball alive.
If they give it up, we want them to give it up because they like computers better or they like volleyball better or whatever, not because some coach made him feel bad on the diamond. Nice play. Good job.
Not all the heroes in this game
Out of the way, Billy!
get their pictures on baseball cards.
Let's go, Billy.
Bob Dodson, NBC News, Fort Wayne, Indiana.
And a loser in the bunch. That's Nightly News for this Friday night. I'm Tom Brokaw. Connie Chung will be here tomorrow night. I'll see you again on Monday.
Tonight, sit up and take notice with a barrage of babbling stars on the best of TV bloopers. Then, as the master of illusion toying with trouble,
You're a miracle worker.
Black's Magic, and on Miami Vice, it's Frozen Fingers, frightening killers, and fearless cops.
Take this freak show on the road.
Tonight.